Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the English Listening Podcast. I am so happy to have you here today, and I hope you can relax, listen carefully, and enjoy this time with me. Today, we are going to talk about something that is deeply connected to the way we see ourselves, self-esteem and self-love. These ideas can sound simple, but they can actually affect many parts of our lives, including our relationships, our decisions, our confidence, and even the way we react when things do not go as planned. Self-esteem is basically the way we value and evaluate ourselves. It is not about thinking that we are better than everyone else, and it is not about feeling confident every single day. It is about recognizing that we have value even when we make mistakes, experience failure, or receive criticism. Self-love is closely related, but it is more about treating ourselves with care, respect, patience, and understanding. I think this is important because many of us are much kinder to other people than we are to ourselves. We can forgive a friend for making a mistake, but when we make the same mistake, we may call ourselves stupid or useless. We can encourage someone who feels insecure, but we may spend hours comparing ourselves with people online. Learning to love yourself does not mean ignoring your weaknesses or pretending that everything is perfect. It means accepting that you're a person who is still learning and growing. You can want to improve without believing that you are not good enough right now. In this episode, I want to share some simple ideas that can help you build a healthier relationship with yourself, one small step at a time. And if you have spent years being hard on yourself, do not expect that habit to disappear immediately. Changing your inner dialogue takes practice, just like learning a language or developing any other skill. The goal is not perfection. The goal is progress. One of the first steps toward better self-esteem is learning to notice the way you speak to yourself. We all have an inner voice, and sometimes that voice can become surprisingly negative. You might say things like, "I always ruin everything," "I am not attractive enough," "I am terrible at this," or "everyone else is doing better than me." If you repeat these thoughts often, they can start to feel like facts, even when they are only opinions created by fear or disappointment. This does not mean that you should force yourself to think positive thoughts all the time. Instead, try to make your inner voice more realistic and fair. If you make a mistake, you can say, "I made a mistake, but I can learn from it." If something is difficult, you can say, "I am still learning this," instead of saying, "I am incapable." There is a big difference between these statements because one attacks your identity while the other describes a situation. Another helpful habit is to stop comparing your life with other people's lives. Social media often shows carefully selected moments, achievements, trips, beautiful photos, and exciting experiences, but it rarely shows the complete story. When you compare your everyday life with someone else's best moments, you are not making a fair comparison. Try to remember that your progress has its own timeline. Someone may be ahead of you in one area and behind you in another. Your value is not determined by how quickly you reach a goal. You do not need to become someone else to deserve respect. You can admire another person's qualities while still appreciating your own. When you begin changing the way you talk to yourself and reducing unnecessary comparisons, you create more space for confidence to grow naturally. When you notice yourself comparing, pause and ask whether the comparison is helping you. If it is not, bring your attention back to your goals, your strengths, and the next useful step you can take. Your journey deserves your attention too. Another important part of self-love is learning to take care of yourself without feeling guilty about it. Taking care of yourself does not have to mean expensive trips, perfect routines, or spending hours doing something special. Sometimes it can be as simple as getting enough rest, eating a proper meal, going for a walk, organizing your space, or taking a break when you feel overwhelmed. Your needs matter, and listening to them is not selfish. Of course, self-care also means setting boundaries. A boundary is a limit that helps protect your time, energy, feelings, or personal space. You do not have to say yes to everything just because someone asks you to. You can be kind and still say no. You can love someone and still decide that certain behavior is not acceptable for you. Learning to say no can feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you are used to making everyone happy, but your relationships become healthier when there is mutual respect. It is also important to keep promises to yourself. If you tell yourself that you are going to study for 30 minutes, exercise, read a few pages, or work on an important goal, try to follow through. Every time you keep a small promise to yourself, you show yourself that you can be trusted. This can slowly build confidence from the inside. You do not need to make huge changes overnight. In fact, small actions repeated consistently can be much more powerful. Be patient with yourself when you have a bad day. Rest when you need to rest. Start again when you are ready. And remember that one difficult day does not erase all the progress you have made. You can also create a simple routine that reminds you to check in with yourself. Ask how you are feeling, what you need, and what you can realistically do today. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is lower your expectations and give yourself room to breathe. You deserve that care too. Something else I want you to remember is that your worth should not depend completely on your achievements, appearance, money, relationship status, or other people's approval. These things can be meaningful, and it is completely normal to care about them, but they can change. If your entire sense of worth depends on something outside of you, you may feel confident when everything is going well and lost when something changes. Try to build your identity around qualities that are deeper and more stable. Think about the kind of person you want to be. Maybe you value honesty, kindness, responsibility, creativity, loyalty, courage, or curiosity. You can focus on living according to those values instead of constantly asking whether other people approve of you. It can also help to recognize your achievements, including the small ones. Maybe you finished something you had been avoiding, spoke up when you were nervous, learned a new skill, or simply got through a difficult week. These things count. You do not have to wait for a huge success before allowing yourself to feel proud. At the same time, loving yourself does not mean believing that you never need to change. Healthy self-esteem allows you to admit when you are wrong, apologize, learn, and improve without destroying your sense of self. You can say, "I did something wrong," without saying, "I am a terrible person." That difference is powerful. And please remember that asking for support is not a sign of weakness. Sometimes talking with a trusted friend, family member, teacher, or mental health professional can help you understand yourself more clearly. You do not have to handle every difficult feeling alone. Taking care of yourself also means knowing when you need support. You can also keep a small list of things you like about yourself that have nothing to do with appearance or achievement. Maybe you are a good listener, curious, caring, or persistent. These qualities deserve to be noticed too. As we come to the end of today's episode, I want you to remember that self-esteem and self-love are not things you suddenly achieve and never lose. They are skills and habits that can change throughout your life. Some days you may feel confident, strong, and proud of yourself, while other days you may feel insecure or disappointed. That does not mean you have failed. Being human means having different emotions and different seasons in life. What matters is how you treat yourself when you are struggling. Instead of asking, "Why am I like this?" try asking, "What do I need right now?" Instead of waiting until you feel perfect to appreciate yourself, start appreciating the person you are while you continue growing. You can make mistakes and still deserve kindness. You can have weaknesses and still have strengths. You can have goals and still be proud of how far you have come. If you want to start today, choose one small action. Speak to yourself with more kindness, take a real break, write down 3 things you appreciate about yourself, set one healthy boundary, or spend a few minutes doing something that genuinely makes you feel good. You do not have to transform your entire life in one day. A healthier relationship with yourself can begin with one small decision. And remember, self-love is not about becoming obsessed with yourself. It is about treating yourself as someone whose life, feelings, time, and future matter. I hope today's episode reminded you that you do not need to earn your worth. You already have it. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. Keep learning, keep growing, and most importantly, be kind to yourself. I will see you in the next episode. If you forget all of this tomorrow, that is okay. You can always begin again. There is no deadline for learning to appreciate yourself, and there is no perfect way to do it. What matters is choosing again and again to treat yourself with the same basic compassion you would offer someone you care about.